रेडियो जिंदगी 1170 AM पे वेलकम लिसनर्स, मैं हूं आपके साथ हीरा. वेलकम टू द शापिराली लॉ शो एंड वी आर जॉइंड बाय टर्नी शापिराली लॉ ग्रुप. वन लिटिल थिंग, वी आर ऑन रेडियो जिंदगी 92.3 FM HD2. दैट्स आवर न्यू फ्रीक्वेंसी नाउ, 92.3 FM HD2. सो अगर आप हमें गाड़ियों में सुन रहे हैं तो कॉन्ग्रेचुलेशंस on this new high definition frequency and quality that you can listen to. और listeners, अगर आपके पास में नहीं है तो आप रेडियो जिंदगी की ऐप डाउनलोड करके सुन सकते हैं. नो चेंजेस ओवर देयर. सो let's get on with the show. Attorney Shapir Ali से हम बात करेंगे. Attorney Shapir Ali is the founder, president and managing attorney of the Shapir Ali Law Group, which is headquartered right here in Newark, California. He is a member of the American Immigration Lawyers Association as well as the State Bar of California. He is a passionate advocate of human rights, civil rights, social action and social services, and he has a strong interest in and knowledge of the political and the legal system in the U.S. He formed his law group to work hard on the causes that he feels most ardently about. His law group focuses on immigration law with an emphasis on employment-based immigration, and he helps his clients all over the U.S. His teams are in Newark, San Francisco, and Washington, D.C. So East Coast or West Coast, they can always help you. Listeners, get more information about their practice on the website peralilaw.com. That's PERALLYLAW.com. You can also make an appointment by calling them on 510-742-5887. That's 510-742-5887. And if you'd like to participate in the show, if you'd like to ask, call in and ask a question, or if you want to discuss something or give your input on this show, you can call us during the show on 510-657-1170. So let's get started. Attorney Shah, welcome to the show. Good morning.
Good morning, Ira. Good morning to all the listeners. Welcome today on the 92.3 FM radio. It's the first time we're doing the show here, and we really welcome the new listeners. And my name is Shapir Ali, and as Ira told you, I'm an immigration attorney in the Bay Area. We handle immigration cases all over the U.S. and even overseas, and we have our offices in three places. In main office headquarters is in Newark, California, and then we have one in San Francisco and another one in Washington, D.C. So if you need any help, feel free to reach out to us. And before I start, as usual, Ira, I'm going to give the disclaimer. Anything I'm going to tell you today is my opinion. You should not act or refrain to act solely on the information provided. You should contact an attorney if you have any questions. So I think you already gave the studio number, right?
Yes, I did.
Same number? Okay, great. So just for those who don't know, we have been doing the show now it's going on 11 years. Actually, in 1 month, it will be 11 years of the show. It's amazing. It's been going on for so long, and time is really flying, and it's been pretty much a success since it started, and now hopefully on our new broadband, things are going to be really kind of interesting for the new listeners and for, of course, our previous listeners. So without further ado, we're going to talk a little bit. Of course, we talk about immigration mostly and things that are happening. So I'm going to cover different topics. There are a few changes that has been happening, but I'm not going to cover them today. Hopefully, we will do that next week. But most of the changes right now coming are good because we came with since 2019 with the COVID. Things have really become very depressing for many people because many lost their job, etc. And things are getting really bit out of the bar now. We're not completely out of it because there are still many difficulties we have to face. So, but at the same time, we know things are going to get better as we go. We have the vaccine, etc., etc. So you should go ahead and actually try to start getting moving, and things are moving right now in America, and that's a great news about it. So now the thing that I wanted to mention today is we're going to talk about one main topic, something that we are fighting for now, the H-4 visa abused people, right? People who have been emotionally abused, who lost their who have been through a divorce and lost their status because they were married to an H-1B. Yeah, go ahead.
Tanisha, I feel, in fact, I believe that before we move on to H4, visas, I should also tell everybody that in case you did not know, Attorney Shapirali has also been a very prominent voice in enabling the H4 EADs. That the one that comes with the H1 applicants, I-140, but Attorney Shah also worked very hard on making that happen. So congratulations and thank you.
Oh, thank you so much for that. But
so that's why I have so much faith. I have so much faith in you and your process that I'm pretty sure that over time, in some time, this new petition that you have filed will also will also be finally passed. So yeah, please do tell us, do tell everybody about that.
Definitely. Thank you so much. Yeah, just to go back in time a little bit, we started fighting for the H4 EAD since 2010. And at that time when I was starting it, most people were kind of thinking that I'm a little bit crazy because I was getting involved. And there were a movement of nice ladies who were actually fighting for this, but they didn't really have a voice because it was mostly on social media. But ultimately, when we started, we went really deep into it. Radio shows. I even wrote an open letter to President Obama at that time, which was published on several newspapers, including on NDTV, on I think even CNN, if I'm not mistaken, but I'm not sure. And I got calls from many channel outlets which were really helpful to make a change on that. But it took us almost 5 years to go through this. Hopefully this one will not take that long, because what we are requesting here is something which is almost, should be obvious, right? Someone is married to an H-1B, they come to the United States, and I'm not talking only about women here, okay, by the way. It's not a one-side thing. It's also men and women. They come here as a dependent, and they're totally dependent on the spouse, and then suddenly something goes wrong. They are being abused, or even if they are not being abused, the marriage is just falling off, and suddenly at this point they find themselves without any status in the U.S. And what do they do next? Especially when they have children, when they have responsibilities, they left their home country, and they need to have something, because unless they move to something like a student visa, or if they've been physically abused, they get a U visa, they are pretty much stuck. They have to go back. Mm-hmm. Now, there's a provision under the law for abused spouses to get an EAD, but that EAD doesn't give them a status. I repeat that. That EAD that you see that comes with the abused spouse H4 EAD doesn't give a status, which means you're technically not legal, but you're allowed to work, which is kind of counterintuitive, because it is not really a normal thing. It doesn't really make sense. So what we are looking for here is some kind of H4, maybe an H4A or something like that, that allows those people to stay here. Now, the problem gets worse when you have a divorce going on. So that person is in a divorce, they're still fighting, they're struggling, and they don't really have anywhere to go. They probably sometimes don't have any money left. Mm-hmm. And what happens is that they're completely at the mercy of the H-1B holder. And usually, as you know, a divorce is always messy. No matter how much people say it's a friendly divorce, there's no real friendly divorce. It's always some kind of fight. And there's always like some kind of revenge. And if the H-1B holder has all the cards in his or her hands, then we have a problem, because they can control the whole situation. It won't be a fair divorce because of that. And sometimes many people, especially in our community, they are scared to talk about the situation. They are even scared to call the police if they are physically abused, which, by the way, they should do, because if you're being physically abused, you should call the police, because that will protect you not only in terms of your well-being, in terms of not being physically abused, but ultimately will give you a potential for a U visa, which is an amazing visa because it leads to a green card down the road. So that's the first thing that people have to do. But in the meantime, our fight is to give some kind of rights for those people who are going out of status because of their H-1B spouse, to actually move forward in life, get something, get a chance, because they cannot keep relying on just a student visa or something like that, or try to get on a B1, B2, because they don't have many other choices. So I recommend people to at least check on our petition on change.org. We have this petition now running. We already got, in almost few days, we got only more than 300 signatures, but we need a lot more. So it's for help the H4 abused spouses to maintain legal status in the United States. So I repeat that, help the H4 abused spouses to maintain legal status in the United States. Well, it's not only for abused spouses, it's pretty much for any spouse who actually is going to suffer ultimately by the fact that they are getting divorced. So that's what we are hoping that Biden will come up. By the way, we are not counting too much on the Congress to do anything. It will be the same like we did for the H4 EAD. We targeted the executive order. Yeah, so executive order means we are bypassing the entire system of the Congress. That means getting through the Senate and the House of Representatives, etc., because those guys have not done anything really in the past 20 years probably. And
so, in fact, about this petition that you were saying that listeners, if you are looking to sign the petition or promote it, and if you are unable to find it on the change.org website, log on to Facebook, go to my Facebook page, RJ Ira, and you will find it right there on top. You can sign the petition, and also please help spread the word. When Tanisha, when you were mentioning abused, I remember when you started the petition and I had forwarded it to many of my friends, some of them actually, a few of them wrote back the same thing, asking just one word in question mark, this abused and 3 question marks. I said, yes, in any way. It doesn't only mean that a person has to be abused physically or has to be beaten up emotionally, financially, mentally. It is all abuse. You just have to identify it, and people who are suffering H4 spouses who are suffering because of this, because they feel they have no other option, they have no other choice other than just packing their bags and moving back to the home country. This is for all of them. This is for all the people who are struggling to stay back in this country.
Exactly. This is the thing that people don't understand. Abuse takes many forms, okay? And oftentimes emotional or mental abuse are worse than physical abuse. Not to downplay physical abuses, but emotional abuse comes in forms of continuous abuse, like insulting. I'll give you a few examples. I had one person who was from Africa. I'll use that example. And the spouse was making him that person eat on the floor because the idea was that, hey, you come from a backward country, I don't want you to sit on the table with me. Those kind of stupid things, but it was hurting that person. And many times I had also cases where they will take their fist and say, I will blow up your face, I will do this to you, I will do this to you, and continuously. And that ultimately, that can result into affecting a person really deeply. And here again, some people will make fun of it because they will say, you know what, people are oversensitive. No, it's not being oversensitive. We are living in a new world, right? We cannot balance things like it used to be back in the days when people were less sensitive, or whatever we call it. We have to live with our time. Otherwise, why do you use Facebook? Why do you use a car? You can use a horse, right? So this is why people don't understand. And many things, unfortunately, in our communities, like we see as normal are not normal, right? Making fun of people's physical appearance, making fun of people's disabilities, making fun of people's weaknesses. These are all abuses. You don't realize it, but until you really kind of are in the shoes of those people. I've done this for so many years that I've seen all of it, right? From making fun of people about their physical disabilities, their mental disabilities, their weaknesses, their relatives, that too can be abused. Like, for example, if a relative is not whatever, is like they will make fun of you, your relative is like that, you're like that, or things like that. If it is continuous, it becomes an abuse. So people don't realize that small things can really hurt people, because the standard that are used in those cases are not an objective standard. It's a standard, in simple terms, you have to put yourself in the shoes of the person who are susceptible to abuses, right? For example, if someone is disabled with the eye, for example, right, is blind, right, and you keep talking about, hey, you're blind, you're blind, you're blind, a normal person will take it, okay, maybe he's just saying that figuratively. But a person who's really blind or legally blind or something will take it really deeply and more personally. And that's something also that many people ignore. There are also other kinds of abuses with many people, which many people don't realize. And they are sexual abuses. Just because you're married to someone, you can force that person to have a sexual relationship with you. It's not legal, and many people take that as well, I'm married, so I have the right. Well, of course, there are a few things that is between the husband and the wife, but there are many things also they will ask the spouses to do that they don't want to do, and those kind of stuff also amount to abuses, and it goes on and on the list. So people should know that you are in America, you have to go by the laws of the land. You cannot take the standard from Africa, India, or some from the Middle East and bring it here and say, hey, this is the standard I want to live by. Although, yes, we respect the religion. I myself is a religious person. I want people to respect my religion, my belief. But if there are abuses using the tool of the culture, that's not right. You cannot do it. It's not something that we allow in here. Like I remember back in the days I used to read this, we used to do that for English literature. I don't know if you ever read the book, A House for Mr. Biswas. It was written by Naipaul, and it's an amazing book. It's a person who's in Trinidad, and they were a group of, Trinidad is mostly like an island where I'm from, Mauritius, and most people are immigrants, indentured laborers from India, and that was written like in the 20s, I think. And a group of women were sitting, and they were all checking if someone didn't get beaten by the husband, it was something odd, right? So this is the kind of culture we have been growing into. But the truth is that in America, those things don't fly. So you should not accept things that we accept there because it's normal, because the standard here is different. That doesn't mean you forget your culture or you forget your good stuff. But things that are bad, we should not import it. That's all I'm saying. So people should know that. So abuses, to answer them, is very simple. Abuses can take many forms, and sometimes people are abused, they don't even know they are abused. Right. That's the worst part of it. Yes. Any question on that?
No, the last statement that you said, that people who are being abused don't even know that they are being abused, because, it's normal. And also you said the background and the culture plays a very important role, but again, it doesn't work over here like that. There are more rights that you can, there are more protection laws. If there's anything that's going on, you can definitely take help. But also, when we started talking about this topic, Attorney Shah, you had mentioned that, going on a student visa or getting an EAD and all, it's not all that easy. If you even have, even if you have to go on a student visa and start studying and continue being here and all, where is the money? How is one supposed to work on all that? So my question is, what are the answers to these questions? What are the solutions to these problems? Do you have anything with us?
Well, the truth is that if someone was not working, usually in most states, when there's a divorce, you have to support the spouse, right? That's one thing. But it goes deeper than that, because the truth is that there's no rule basically to say, hey, you have to support your spouse, right? But under the rules of divorce, usually you will have to provide some kind of spousal support. So that's another thing that probably a family court will decide. But what we're talking mostly here is what happens next, because without money, without anything, that person cannot get into status. Even to pay a lawyer to do the work, they will have to have money. Now, if they want to go on a student visa, we're talking about something different too, because you have to get people they have to pay the school to stay on a student visa.
You have to pay the school. They have to, just to get admissions and stuff. They also have to show funds. So it's not easy. We're talking about, big money. It's not that you just borrow it from somebody and do it off. I mean, it's a lot of money that we're talking about.
Oh, definitely. And it's not only about money. At that time when someone is going on a divorce, the mental situation is also situation is very kind of volatile at this point. They cannot really think properly, and you're talking about so many people kind of give up, and they don't know. And if they go back now, you have another problem too. It's society, right? If they get divorced, they go back, especially in conservative societies. They're not really looked upon as good people or whatever you will call it, and they don't really get the support. Even the family sometimes will abandon them, and that's where things get worse, because people trying to really kind of make things happen. They came here with a lot of hope, and now suddenly that hope is going away by going through a divorce. Now you have something else that is happening. You also have all those difficulties coming up, and one of the main difficulty is money, right? But money is not all. It's emotional support, family support, etc. And they won't even have that. And sometimes it gets worse. If you come from a very conservative society, I don't know how to put it. I heard a lot of bad things when women get divorced, go back there. They really get treated badly. Some I've even heard get raped or things like that. So, and that I'm talking about women, but I don't know how it is for men. But the truth is this is a messy situation, because just asking that person to leave during the time they just came out of a difficult time is unfair and not humane, right? So, and plus there is no real chance of fixing anything immediately. So at least we need some time for those people to stay here, maybe a couple of years at least, until they find a solution for themselves. Or ultimately, then when they go back, they already have something they can use in their favor. And oftentimes, by just leaving them like that, they don't have anything in their hands to work with. So this is the situation that we are seeing, and maybe you can add more on that if you know. Probably you have friends, people who have issues similar. You can probably add on that, because I've been trying to compile as many things as possible, but ultimately the feedback of everybody is going to make the difference.
No, definitely. And I think all of us, most of us would know people who are probably in a similar situation, and if not really, getting divorced and struggling to stay here. But we have seen people, especially H4 spouses, who have been accomplished professionals or things in their home countries, but after coming here are literally struggling to do anything and are probably staying at home. And again, we are not only talking about women, it is also a situation with men. That's why we are seeing H4 spouses, H4 dependent spouses. And that is why that is what this petition is about, because eventually things sometimes, if they do get worse, there has to be a way. There has to be a way out. So don't think that there are no options. Attorney Shah is working very hard to make this work again this time. H4 EAD worked. So hopefully this petition for H4 abused spouses to maintain legal status in the US will also work. So listeners, sign the petition, spread the petition, spread the word around, and it's on change.org. You can find it by the title, Help the H4 abused spouses to maintain legal status in the US. Or log on to Facebook, go to my Facebook page, is right there on RJ Ira, it's right there, you'll see it. Find Attorney Shah Pirali if you can. and you'll find it on his page as well. If you have any questions, if you have anything to add to today's topic, you can definitely call us right away on the studio number 510-657-1170. That's 510-657-1170. From yesterday, 1st of June, we are on a new radio frequency. It's 92.3 FM HD2. You can also continue listening to us on the Radio Zindagi app on your smartphone and through the website player. Yes, Atanisha, let's continue. We are halfway through. Okay, time flies.
Yes, because this is a very kind of sad and interesting topic, because it goes back to really what is going on in society now. And it's not only a society now, it's been happening for years. But now it's worse because of the fact that green card waiting time is so long for India and other countries like China also, and some other few countries, that the H4 spouse is stuck for years and with the H1B, and what happens next now? What do we do? What can we do to help those people, at least temporarily, until they get back on track? As you know, just to remind people, because we have a new listenership here, my name is Shah Pirali, and I'm an immigration lawyer. I've been doing this for 17 years now. And my first case I took actually was a VAWA case, a Violence Against Women Act, in my career. The first case I took in my life, it was a VAWA case. And the story goes on. It's been 17 years. Abuses have not stopped. And I mean, not only because a lot of people will think, oh, it's only like one-sided. It's not one-sided, by the way. It's two. You can have abuse for women, and you can have abuse for men too. And just because men are men doesn't mean they don't get abused. In fact, now more and more the statistics are bringing almost like almost equal the number of abuses from men to women, and women to men. And it's many times actually some experts believe it's now kind of balancing equally, because many men don't report it and things like that. So what we are talking here are abuses for spouses. That means the H1 visa can be a man or a woman, and the spouse H4 can also be a man or a woman. So basically, when we are what we are trying to protect here are human beings, not just women, yes. One group, right?
Atanisha,
yes.
Your petition, how many signatures does it need minimum for it to be valid for an executive order?
No, the petition.
Or in fact, what's the process like?
Really,
what's the process like?
Yeah.
You've started a petition, then what happens?
Well, the thing is that the petition itself creates a momentum, right? More you have signatures on it, usually a good number is like 15,000.
Okay.
But what happens is that once you start getting the momentum, you will have newspapers getting involved, you will have news channels getting involved, you will have other organizations getting involved, and that creates the momentum, which influences what happens next. And what we did when we started the petition and the pressure, we could show to the press and to the government that, hey, we have a lot of people who are behind us on this. And then it's not the number of people, it's how much influence this has. Because it's a pool, right? You want to if you file a petition, for example, for Biden, right? It will have millions of signatures because it has a lot of, but when you're talking about immigration, we're already kind of narrowing down the number of people. Now, talking about non-immigrant visas, it makes it less. Now, talking about H4, it makes it less. Now, talking about H4 abusers, it makes it less than that. So we will need to have a pool of people so that we can influence the media like we did last time. And ultimately, what happened is that when they realized that it was a humanitarian issue, many newspapers pick up the story and they pushed it for us, kind of. And what I did also, I wrote an open letter which was published by a few major newspapers and major networks, out there, and this kind of helped too. And of course, there was also a lot of help from many congressmen, because that's the next step. Although you're basically petitioning Biden here to make things happen, we can also get the support of a congressman. But congressmen, you know how it works. These are politicians. They need a crowd behind them. Then some of them will really kind of help. That's no question about it. But many of them will also look into basically how many people are behind you. So because that kind of influences the whole system. It's a democratic system, so the majority rules. So more and more we saw people on joining the cause. More and more we saw them getting interested, and the change happened suddenly. And then what was happening also, there was a proposition a long time ago on the H4, but it just got stagnant. So what I did, I took the same one, I modified it and pushed it forward.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't come out exactly the same, but we got pretty much most of the stuff we requested. And many people were thinking that it will go away. It didn't go away, which is a great thing. So all the stuff help. It's not like a one-time thing. It's going to require a lot of effort, and I cannot do it on my own. I need the support of people, because I'm not a lobbyist. I'm a lawyer, but I fight for human rights because that's what I've promised myself I'll do in my life. Immigration is what is my bread and butter, but my real concentration from law school was to focus on helping people, because I always thought if I don't use my law degree to help people, it will be useless. So that's how things have started, and it has gone on like now strong for 17 years. We had our ups and downs during September 11, during the Trump era, even during Obama or Bush. It was not easy, because you were dealing with especially under Bush and Trump, we were dealing with really hostile government officials, and under Trump it was worse. So, but still we survived. But we couldn't push anything during Trump era, because if we had pushed this, it would have gone in a negative way. So in this case, it went in a positive way, because it was under Obama. So remember that the timing also is very important. Now, we have another problem now. The problem is that we are in a time of COVID. The world is really kind of trying to recover, and a lot of countries are falling apart too. We know that. And that also plays against us, because people tend to think only the bigger picture. They will forget about that. But that doesn't mean we cannot continue the fight. So that's why we need the support and signatures on the petition. I hope that kind of answers a little bit the question.
Definitely. It is an uphill battle, but definitely we're very hopeful that we'll get there. It might take some time, right? What do you think is the time frame for this?
Well, the time frame I can't give you, but it will take a couple of years.
Couple of years. It's not a couple of months. It's not happening anytime soon. But we have to.
Well, we never know. If we get some support of some good politicians, it might happen. If we get someone who's really progressive, who wants to help, they will help. But like I said, we are competing with bigger issues. We are in a pandemic time. We are in a time where a lot of economies are falling apart, and everybody's focusing on the major things, and unfortunately the H4 are not the priorities, right? Mm-hmm. But we will keep pushing, and if we get the support of some good politicians or some good organization, it will make. So we make a call. If you are an organization that deals with abused spouses, please make sure that you go ahead and you actually kind of help us. So it is important that we get your support too.
Well, there's so many organizations, so many organizations right here in the Bay Area that help and that support abused spouses. More, especially women that we've heard of, but we should definitely spread this word as much as possible and try to get this up and running. Listeners, once again, the petition is on change.org, or you can find it on my Facebook page, RJ Ita's Facebook page. It's right on top. It says, help the H4 abused spouses to maintain legal status in the US. We are on Radio Zindagi. You are listening to Radio Zindagi on 92.3 FM HD2. It's the new frequency that we are on since June 1st, which is yesterday. You can call us during the show. The studio number remains the same. If you have any questions or if you'd like to say something, be a part of the show right now, you can call us on 510-657-1170. That's 510-657-1170. Tanisha, you said you've been doing this for 17 years and your first case that you had taken up was the Wawa case. Any other small anonymous examples that you can give us about, like victory stories, success stories, what the situation was like? And eventually how it worked out in the end, just, because so that the situation seems, or a situation we know is not all gloom and doom and it is hopeful.
Yes, well, there are so many cases, and just to let people know, I don't know, I handle maybe 500, 600, maybe 1,000 cases of abuses, including U visas, VAWAs, not counting the consultations. So it's a lot of cases, but there are many situations which was heartbreaking, which has always been heartbreaking. But some of them you can't forget, especially when it involves torture, it involves selling their spouses. That too I have dealt with. Shutting their. Well, one which was very interesting. I had this person who came, and they pretty much kind of close her inside the house, not letting her go out, and basically using her as a servant, right, and as a maid. And ultimately, luckily, she went to the temple, and they were allowing her to go to the temple, and someone who knew me there kind of smuggled her from the temple and took her to my office, and I was able to put her in a shelter and fought her case, and we won. I had another case where the spouse was selling, the husband was selling the wife as a prostitute, right? So another situation, and those are all in our communities. That's what really kind of is amazing. And I had another one where now the wife shot the husband, right, because she found out. So all this kind of stuff, I cannot get into more details, unfortunately, but these are really kind of it is very kind of, how to put it, it's very disturbing, because when you finish those cases, it is something that stays in your head, and I'm still talking to you. Sometimes I think about it, and it's something that stays there even when you're sleeping at night, and and you think about it, and think how.
How do you stay sane? I hope you do a lot of meditation or gardening. Same thing.
yeah, exactly. Well, sometimes I have to shut off, right? Yeah. So one of my escape is probably I like you say, I like gardening a lot, and I like archery and things like that. It helps me a lot because those help me focus, because if I keep thinking about those cases, I won't sleep at night. But now I'm getting a little bit better at it. I kind of controlling the emotions, but before that, it was something that was how to put it?
It affects us so much that, if you just tell me something like that, and it affects all of us who are listening to it. Imagine you are right in the middle of it. You are dealing with the whole thing. You're trying to make that person's life better. Trying to get the right thing done. So it's, kudos to you. It's absolutely commendable what you do and how you do it. It's amazing.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And the truth is that I really kind of have to thank those who approach me and talk about it. And I don't want to mention names, but there are many good people who asked me to take this long time ago. But I have been waiting because it was not something we could do during the Trump administration. And then we had all the COVID issues. I had to let the dust settle a little bit, but now we're a little bit kind of more back to, I would not say normal, but at least to bearable. So now is the time to really push this. Although, like I said, this is going to take years to really clear. But at the end of the day, if we don't start, we will never know. So I call on everybody to sign on this, even though it doesn't affect you personally. It might affect you, your brother, your sister, your nephew, your niece, your mom, you name it.
But like
Things
your
like that
friends.
happen.
Yeah.
Exactly. Your friend, and sometimes they will never tell you because it's something that's not easy to talk about, right? I can talk about it as a lawyer because I'm kind of a third person, but when you are in it, I can tell you many times, even when I'm talking to my clients, they don't feel comfortable talking about the things that happen to them. That's why I always try to have a person who is the same gender there, so that they can feel more comfortable talking about it. And then sometimes I have to step out so that they tell their stories, because they don't really open up that easily sometimes. But I'm now used to it, so it's not something that is difficult for me. But in the beginning, when I was hearing the stories, it was nightmarish, right? So you will have nightmares with them. But guess what? This is our job, and it's just like doctors seeing people a surgeon who has to cut people, seeing people cut into pieces, put them back together. I think they go through some kind of trauma too. But it's our job, like I said, and we have to do it. Just like a soldier has to go to war and kill people. Sometimes the other way around, when you see people getting killed, what do you do? So all the stuff are required. This is how society functions. But we need the support of the people, because if the people don't support us, then we are kind of in trouble, right? So that's why we need you to sign on the petition. Hopefully we'll get enough signatures to get this going. But at the end of the day, it's something that is happening. We cannot ignore it. We are talking about the H-4 visa holders. And even abuse or not, when they get divorced, the H-4 visa holders, they fall out of status. And that's what we're trying to fight for. At least we need to give them something they can stay in the U.S. until they clear their mind or get back on track. Not just like the regular kind of visas. We want some kind of visas which are very specific, because many people cannot go back to their home country. And because if they go, they will be mistreated. They will be going through very, very a difficult time. So we are trying our best to help them. And at the end of the day, it's not something that is going to happen overnight. But we are hoping that will happen. Yeah, go ahead.
It's not only about being mistreated or ill-treated. I mean, imagine somebody who's been here a long time, who has a life here, who maybe on an EAD has a career over here and stuff. And then if they have to just go back to their home country, even if it's not about mistreatment, they are the ones who have to start from scratch and just, reinvent their whole wheel. That is also something which is not fair to them. And so I'm sure it also counts for some kind of abuse, professional abuse, I don't know.
Well, everything can account for abuse if you're susceptible to that abuse, like I said, right? So, if someone is disabled and you, for example, let's say their hand doesn't work, and you keep talking about hands, and it's affecting them, it won't affect a regular person, right? But a person who already have this handicap or this disability, it will affect them. So this is exactly what we are talking about here. It's people will have to really kind of put things together and realize that we are not maybe we are not in those shoes, but at the end of the day, one person you might know might be in those shoes, and that's what's going to really kind of make the difference if you start thinking for them. And remember, we have almost 1 million people on H-1B probably in the U.S. right now, more than that. And most of them has an H-4, two H-4 attached to them. Now, remember, if they cut off the H-4 for the spouse, they might also cut it off for their own kids, although they can file separately for their kids. Separating the kids from one of the parents is not really good. especially if the fight is just personal fight, right? Nothing really dangerous for the child or things like that. So there needs to be some kind of protection for those people, and we see it on and on how many times they suffer. And the worst part is that when they go back to the home country, for example, India, everything, they are looked upon in a very bad way, and that can really cause depression and all the stuff for them. So we need to protect them at least until a decision can be made more permanently for them. So I recommend that you support us and help us find a way to help those people, because there's only so much we can do about it. Yes, you were saying something?
No, you're absolutely right. We were getting a call that got dropped, but listener, if you're still there, if you're still listening, please do call us back, 510-657-1170. And today's topic is such, even if you don't want to share your name on air while speaking to Attorney Shah on air, it's completely okay. You can give us an anonymous call. You don't have to give out your name. You can just start speaking about whatever it is that you have to say about today's topic. Again, listeners, we are talking to Attorney Shah Pirali on Radio Zindagi on a new frequency, 92.3 FM HD2. And Attorney Shah, as most of you would know, has been a prominent voice in enabling the H4 EAD, the EAD work permit for H4 visa holders, H4 dependent spouses who are eligible. So that H4 EAD legalize, making that legal. But now there is another petition that Attorney Shah Pirali has started. It's about helping the H4 abused spouses to maintain legal status in the US. So, we really request you to add your signature to it and spread the word, circulate the petition, have as many people sign it and have as many people support the cause. You will find it on Attorney Shah Pirali's Facebook profile. You'll find it on my Facebook page. The petition has been created on change.org. So you can go onto the website and find it. Otherwise, just send me an email. I can send you the link, or log on to my Facebook page, RJ Ira, and you'll find it right on top. We are about 7 minutes away from the end of the show. Attorney Shah, what else would you like to say? Do you have any updates on other immigration news? That's anything else coming up?
Yes, so we'll close that topic. That's saying that we need your support on the H4. We talked a lot about it, and hopefully we'll have the recorded show. We'll post it on our YouTube channel. And you can share it with your friends with the link. And the channel, subscribe to it, youtube.com/ShahPiraliLaw. And hopefully we will put the podcast there under YouTube, because I don't use podcast now. I use YouTube. It's easier. So now going back to what we do for the new listeners, I've been doing immigration for a while now. I do mostly employment-based, although I focus on humanitarian grounds too, like asylum, VAWA cases, marriage petitions. We do a lot of H-1Bs, I-140s, but mostly also we do EB-1s. We're very good at it, and hopefully we'll have Sharif next week talking about it. National interest waivers, because these are very interesting. These are EB-1 categories, especially EB-1A is very, very interesting if you qualify for it. Number one, you don't need an employer to file for that. I repeat that. You can file on your own. You can even be sitting in India, we file it for you. And number two, there's the waiting time is almost zero when it comes to the green card, unlike most other cases. Now, the number three advantage is when you file this, you can take it with you anytime you change job, etc. You still are going to be good to go. So you don't have to be kind of at the mercy of a company and basically waiting on them to actually kind of do stuff for you, and you have this done. So it is something that is very interesting. Give us a call if you want, if you think you qualify. If you think you qualify for any of those, please give us a call. You can check some of our recorded shows that we did before on Radio Zindagi from with Sharif. You can type Attorney Sharif and Shah Pirali on YouTube. You will get an idea what we are talking about here, and hopefully next week we'll talk more about that. Now, the other thing, of course, that we handle a lot of family petitions, marriage petitions. A lot of people ask me the question, do you need a lawyer to file this? The answer is no. You don't need a lawyer to file this because it's a lot of paperwork. The reason most people hire us is, number one, that they don't want to deal with that massive number of papers, and at the same time, they like to have us kind of have our name on the case to help them, to support them. And number three, of course, is if you make a mistake on the case will be delayed forever. So this is where you will want to have a lawyer who's experienced to do that. And now for your parents, right? If your mom or dad is in the U.S. and you don't want them to go back, we can file a green card for them and keep them here if you're a U.S. citizen. And they don't have to go back. And the time this is being processed, they can stay here until they get an answer on the case. So,
Attorney Shah, we have a caller over here. We have a caller who'd like to say something to you. Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
Hello? Yes, please go ahead. You're on air with Attorney Shapir Ali.
Hello, sir. This is Jasmeet here.
Hi, Jasmeet. How are you?
Good. And just wanted to thank you for taking up this petition and listening to us. And now I'm very much hopeful that victims like me would really get some justice, and because you have taken it and heard. And so coming from you, this petition and this support really means a lot to us. Thank you so much.
Oh, that's very kind of you. Thank you so much, Jasmeet, for calling. And hopefully it works. So we need your support to help everybody to know about the petition. So please share it and have as many people sign. And hopefully we'll
I am continuously sharing it on all the social media and whatever I can do for it. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much for calling. That's very nice to hear just me calling and talking about this, because this is something that is really important to a lot of people. And we need you to really take notice of that, and hopefully
that's exactly what I had also written on my social media, that more people than we know are suffering because of this whole situation. So we should support as much as we can. Thank you, Jasmeet. Thank you so much for calling and showing your support.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. And Attorney Shah, we have 2 more minutes to go. What would be your parting thoughts?
So let us kind of close quickly.
Yes.
We were talking about that just for the because this is a new channel, so we want you guys to know that now we have shifted to this channel, and we want you to keep that time for you every week to where we're going to talk about immigration, and you will be able to call live and ask your questions. Again, tell your friends and families. And just to let you know, I'm Attorney Shapir Ali. I deal in immigration. Mostly I've been doing this for 17 years. We have a really good track record of our work. You can check our reviews and our pretty much everything you can check. You go ahead and Google the name Shapir Ali, and I really thank all of you for giving the support for people calling on that. Hopefully we'll talk more about this, but today we kind of dedicated the show to the H4 visa holders, and especially abused H4 visa holders. But we help people on everything immigration, from H1Bs, from O visas, EB1, labor certification, I-140s, family petitions, asylum, you name it. We pretty much cover most of the topic. There are few ones I don't cover just because I don't like doing them, and I kind of have this privilege of choosing, so I do that. But we can help you pretty much on everything. Our complicated RFEs, etc., we can help you. Thank you so much for listening. We'll be back next week. Thank you, Ira. Anything I told you today is my opinion. You should not act or refrain to act solely on the information provided. You should contact an attorney if you have any questions. Thank you, Ira. Take care. Bye-bye. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Attorney Shah. Thank you very much for being here with us. I will talk to you again next week. Meanwhile, listeners, remember to call 510-742-5887. That's the office number for Attorney Shapir Ali and his team. 510-742-5887. The website is peeralilaw.com. That's PEERALLYLAW.com. Attorney Shah joins us here every Wednesday, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. And remember the new frequency, 92.3 FM HD2 or on the Radio Zindagi website. Nothing changes for you. It all remains the same. See you later. Stay tuned to Radio Zindagi.